A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Spencer and I stopped recording our podcast because the Acolyte ended and there was nothing coming out. But now Skeleton Crew has come out. So welcome back to Disciples of the Force podcast. I am your host, Austin Hyatt. This is my lovely co-host, Spencer Silva.
How's it going?
And we are happy to be back. We may be a little rusty. We're hoping we're not. And we're hoping some of you are still out there listening and hoping to hear from us.
Yeah. I mean, I keep getting the messages, when you guys coming back? We need to hear your thoughts.
Seriously.
And we're here.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think we won't be rusty because I've been practicing in the shower.
Really?
Every day.
What else have you been practicing?
Well, you don't want to know about
that. Okay.
Actually, for Christmas. No, it's not bad. I wanted a back scrubber.
Okay.
So they got me one. That thing, life-changing.
Really?
Yeah. Actually life-changing because I've realized there's spots you just don't get. Yeah. I guess not. So,
can you do the thing where you reach back and
touch your
for
hands.
The viewers? Yeah. Can you lock your hands?
No, dude, I can't.
Really?
Not really.
It's because you got a big muscly back.
Maybe. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'm just not flexible. I couldn't even do it when I was a skinny little boy.
Yeah.
So this podcast is sponsored by Back Scrubber. Go
Back
pick it
scratcher.
up. Back scratcher. Back scratcher. All right. So let's talk about the Skeleton Crew. We're coming at you late, of course. There's 5 episodes out.
Yep.
I think we haven't talked about this, but we're gonna talk about the first 2 today.
Okay, perfect.
And then do we just do the next 2 next week, and then the next 2 the next week, and then we'll be on.
Eventually, we'll catch up.
Yeah. So if we just do 2 each week.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We should be good.
Okay.
So maybe you're gonna hear this and go, I've already know all this, and we're probably gonna put our predictions that have happened, but I've seen nothing of what's going on. Have you seen anything like on social media or anything?
No, my algorithm's totally off Star Wars because we haven't been doing this.
Yeah.
I haven't been sending you stuff. So
now that we're talking about it, your phone's gonna be.
Bro, I can't wait to get back on the Star Wars train.
What are your first thoughts though, going in?
Okay, so going in, I had heard tell that it was Stranger Things in space, and I'm like, bro, that sucks. It's got Jude Law, who's okay.
Is he who the Beatles made that song about? Hey Jude.
Hey Jude, yeah.
Really?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. But I was like, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum on this podcast that we don't like, or I don't like child actors. I know you're kind of in the same boat. But you're you're the biggest Stranger Things fan I know.
No, you did. Oh yeah.
But anyway, I was like, dude, this show is gonna suck, and like I was kind of toying with not even coming back to the pod for it.
Right.
I mean, we weren't really pumped for the show, you know.
No, wasn't on my release radar.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But it is Star Wars content, so I was like, of course we're gonna watch it, you know.
We're gonna watch it.
That changed.
Yeah.
First episode.
Okay, let's hear it,
dude. It was the first thing I watched. I got a backup TV. I got a little QLED TV. I have the OLED in the big room.
Hey, he's got the OLED,
and I won't watch anything on another screen.
Right. You got a QLED though in your bedroom?
No, in our spare room. In like my little office. Have you been to my new apartment?
I've been to your apartment. I didn't know you had 3 rooms. 2 rooms.
Yeah, we got 2 bedrooms.
Didn't know that.
So the other one's kind of like it's kind of like my spare room in my old place.
Okay.
Where it's just like a gamer room or whatever. Yeah. And I got rid of that TV because it was so shitty. Anyway, sorry.
We got to play Warzone now.
I know, dude.
If you're on a QLED,
bro, I'm on a QLED.
He's got to be better.
Which, like, I don't want our viewers or listeners to think that I don't know the difference between OLED and QLED. QLED is just like fancy marketing for smaller pixels, and it's dumb. But it is a better picture than regular LCD or LED. Anyway,
good to know.
It was the first thing I watched on that screen, and I was like, man, this show's pretty sick. Yeah. Like, and of course, it's always that way when you go in with low expectations. But I was like, here are things I really like about it. The kids are pretty good actors.
Yeah, they're not bad at all.
The main 4 for sure.
Yeah.
Especially the main kid, not Neil.
It's something with a W.
Wim. Like
yeah.
Wim Wenders.
Yeah.
He's really good. I really like that guy. And the world that they built, at first I was like suburbs in Star Wars, but then I was like suburbs in Star Wars. That's cool. Pretty sick, dude. It just gives us an opportunity to see a lot of the Star Wars universe or galaxy with really low stakes. And when we get into the next episodes, I was like blown away by some of the stuff we're seeing.
Yeah.
And just like super pumped about it. What are your thoughts?
Well, first off, I echo your sentiment of low expectations. I've been doing that for basically everything now.
Oh,
it makes life so much more enjoyable.
Sure.
Except you're gonna be that guy, but I just keep it internal. I don't tell someone I have low.
Yeah.
I don't tell them I have low expectations. I just feel that internally.
Right.
Like with a lot of movies, I'm like, we'll just watch it and see. And then at the end, I'm like, dang. Like, for example, and I know this is a hot take. Deadpool, 3? Is that what came out?
Yeah, Deadpool.
Most
Wolverine.
people didn't like it. I really enjoyed it.
You loved it.
Because I went in with like, let's just see.
Yeah.
And you might have done the same thing, but for me it worked. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
Point being, low expectation for this as well. And I was like, oh, I'm glad. Because we put a lot of, at least I've put a lot of expectation for The Acolyte. I thought it was going to be something huge and crazy, and it was fine in the end. And I think Mandalorian season 3, same thing.
Yeah.
So I think there's just like, I have that tendency to do that. So for this, not having that makes it so much more enjoyable to watch.
Exactly.
First off, what I do like in this first episode is we do get a couple things that are like kind of, I don't want to say echoing, but reminiscent. There's a better word for what I'm trying to say, of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Homage maybe is maybe the word I'm looking for. For example, that first scene when they're coming through and they're all waiting for him to come through the door of the pirates in the very beginning.
Oh, yes.
Before we even get to the kids. Reminded me exactly of Darth Vader and the Rebels.
Yep.
Super sweet. Gonna jump ahead here. When Wim is riding through the forest, just
Andor.
like Andor. Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's all these things. Oh, the last thing I had too is that when the main guy on the very first scene with the pirates goes up to him and says, "Where's the loot?" Whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We are not diplomatic. We are something under New Republic decree," but echoing what they said in the New Hope.
What Leia said. Yeah.
I was like, and I think there's a reason for that. Is like the people who are making this are trying to bring back that magic that they felt when they watched A New Hope or when they watched the original trilogy, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I hope I can express myself well here. But that's what really works for me here. Like The Acolyte, I went in with tempered expectations, not low expectations, but not expecting the world. But even with those lower expectations, it meant so much for Star Wars for that show to be successful. So when it wasn't, in my eyes,
canceled season 2 if you haven't heard.
Yeah, when it wasn't, it was like huge because it's like, dude, we could get a dark side protagonist in Star Wars, and this will be awesome.
Yeah,
And then it wasn't as awesome as we thought it was going to be, or maybe not even as we thought it was going to be. But anyway, we lost out on something big in Star Wars.
Yeah.
This show, it's like you can have those tempered expectations, but even so, if it's good, it doesn't mean that much for Star Wars. If it's bad, it doesn't mean that much for Star Wars going into that. But then when you see that it's, pretty good, you're like, this does mean a lot for Star Wars. And the other thing is, sorry to keep comparing it to The Acolyte, but you look at The Acolyte and the main characters in that, and they just seem like pale imitations of the characters that we love, They're just copycats, or, a lot of people didn't like the Anakin, similarities in The Acolyte. In this show, there's very little to compare them to, and you're literally just watching people explore the Star Wars galaxy, and that's why I think it works, which is just awesome.
Yeah. And I agree, and that's what I like. We're just exploring the galaxy.
Yeah.
There's really, yes, there is a storyline. These kids are lost at space, and there's more to that. But for the most part, you're just seeing the galaxy from a whole new perspective.
Yeah. And I forgot to tie it back to what you were saying. That's originally what I was going for. Those homages that work in this show work because it's like, because you buy that this is the Star Wars universe. You know what I mean? Like, I buy that these kids are living somewhere off in the edge of the Star Wars galaxy where nothing really matters. Their lives don't matter. Whereas in The Acolyte, it's like, dude, for real, preach.
That came off sarcastic, so I feel embarrassed.
No, yeah, all lives matter.
I might cut that.
Oh, we haven't recorded since the election. Big news for Spencer. Huge news for Spencer. He's super pumped.
Nope.
Anyway, I'm not expressing myself very well. I hope people understand what I mean. Like, the reason it works and the reason it feels more authentic to Star Wars is because there are lower stakes and less things that feel like copycats. I don't know if that makes sense at all. That's what I'm trying to go for.
I think I understand what you're saying. It's not a copycat, is what you're saying. It's more of a. I get what you're saying.
Okay, you get what I say.
I think if I get what you're saying, they should.
Okay.
If they don't, what are you, dumb?
Come on. Dumb.
What are your thoughts about the furry we see in the very beginning?
Furry.
He's that wolf head.
Oh, dude, I'm
You like them?
yeah. All lives
Really?
matter. Straight up, I'm furry guy. No, oh wait, oh no, the pirate guy.
Yeah.
I love that.
Really? I
There,
didn't think you'd like that.
there's a Jedi of that
Species.
species.
Interesting. I didn't know.
Can't remember his name, but I have an action figure of him.
We'll see if I get bought into him. Right now, I'm not.
You're not?
I've seen the first scene twice. I've seen it twice now after rewatching it.
Yeah.
Still not in on him. I mean, he
Dude.
has only popped up in the very beginning. I'm sure he's going to be coming back later.
We've seen his species in live action before, though,
Really?
for sure.
All right.
Let me see.
People are probably mad that I disrespected and call him a furry.
Well, no, I'll do the research, but that's funny that comes off to you as a furry because I'm hypersensitive to furry stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Clearly not.
I'm very I'm very open minded. You know, come to me with all your non-binaries and whatever.
Yeah.
That's why I'm friends with Spencer.
Right. Naturally.
But the furry thing I don't get, and that's okay. I think that's okay.
fine.
I just don't get
Hey,
furries.
we can't understand everything in this
Yeah,
world.
and I know that's like 80% of our fan base. So I'm sorry that I don't understand you guys. But I am pretty hypersensitive to that, and that didn't even like trigger me as
Really?
so. Let me find his name.
Maybe, but you've also been in these movies. This guy's been watching a lot of vampire movies to get ready for Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Which, go see it. I haven't seen it. This guy's loving it. Seen it twice already over there.
Yeah, I saw it again last night, dude. It's amazing.
It's on. I'm watching it next week. Anyway,
Dude, can't
we could. Well, maybe we'll do a podcast because these guys aren't doing their film fixation.
Yeah,
podcast.
film fixation is dead.
So, but in those vampire movies, are there ever like werewolves in them as well? I just feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that's why you're not thinking of that?
Probably
Seeing
because
it?
I've been watching some trashy like B movie vampire movies where like I just do not care about costuming anymore.
Okay.
Well, I mean I care a lot about costuming, but
But you're kind of desensitized.
yeah, I'm
to the fact.
desensitized to it. That's a great point.
Maybe. Okay.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Let's see. One thing I do love in this first episode, I love the kids playing with, or Wim playing with the Jedi toys,
Yeah,
and how he's like obsessed with Jedi and wants to be a Jedi. That's a kid. That's a kid. That's
Dude.
me, and the fact that exists in the Star Wars universe,
Yes.
it to me makes sense.
yes, that is really that first shot of him playing with those characters. I was like, dude, I'm locked in now.
Yeah.
Like that just made me totally buy into everything because one of the cool unexplored well, not unexplored because if you read the books and things like that, about the Clone Wars is how famous Obi-Wan and Anakin were. Like they were famous on the HoloNet. They were like the most famous. They were the biggest celebrities in the galaxy because they were these cool, badass generals, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so like it makes sense for a kid to either hear those stories and he probably hasn't heard of Anakin or Obi-Wan because of the Empire and all that stuff.
Right.
Like it makes sense for those to be the mega celebrities in this galaxy.
Right.
And like to want to be them and play action figures.
No,
It's awesome.
absolutely. Like if you're a kid like that, I mean, perfect. We were kids, and that was the coolest thing to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that's a real thing that's like actually exists,
Yeah.
of course it's going to be like on your mind. It's like wanting to be like I don't know, samurai. Is that a good comparison? I don't know.
I
You
want
get
to be
what
a
I'm trying
samurai. Samurai, cowboy,
say. Yeah,
Navy SEAL. You didn't want to be a Navy SEAL, bro?
I want to be a Marine, baby.
Hell yeah, brother.
Boots on the ground, first
Hey.
there.
Thank you for your service, Dallas. I know Dallas is listening.
Hey, Dallas, thank you for graduation. Congratulations on graduation.
Yeah, for real.
He's not listening to himself. Just give him a shot.
Wait, listen. He, we'll talk about it after. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
He sometimes does listen. I
to
promise
this
you.
podcast?
To this podcast.
What a sweetie pie.
He
Hey, Dallas, thank
got
you.
mad at me one of the last times I saw him, and he was like, "Dude, I know you so well, and I love you so much, and I listen to yours, and you're in Spencer's podcast, and I don't even know anything about Star Wars just because I love you guys."
That's a sweet.
And he was guilting me because I never call him. But anyway,
Dude, I'm a shitty friend.
I'm the worst. Hey, is he gonna come to our birthday party? You gonna invite him?
I should probably invite him.
We need to talk about that.
We'll invite him.
Okay, yeah.
Dallas, you're invited. If you're hearing it first. That's even worse. That when he gets the text and he listens. Hey, anyone's invited to our birthday party, huh? Just hit me, DM us for the address. We'll tell you where it's at.
Yeah,
It's this
yeah.
Wednesday. Or Tuesday. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I think it's Tuesday. When's our birthday? What's Tuesday? 28th?
It's gotta be.
Sunday. Monday's the 30th. Yeah, Tuesday. Jeez, our birthday's
Yeah.
on Tuesday. All right, anyway. But yeah, I loved that. Let's see, let me look at the other thing I like is just seeing regular people's lives in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Or because it's like these people just have lives, school, work, like that's existing.
Yeah.
And of course we're led to believe this is all still like they're kind of believing life is New Republic still. Or not
Right.
New Republic, Old Republic.
Yeah.
but it's still fun to watch. Like they're organized, they have jobs, and like when they ask them, what do you guys want to do when you get older? And they have like specific things they want to do. I don't know. It's fun to just kind of look at it, which sounds so boring because that is life. But like to see it in a place where that's not traditionally how it's seen makes it fun. I don't know.
Exactly. I just cannot explain how refreshing it is to have a Star Wars show and have it not be centered on the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we were just talking about how like they care about the Jedi. Of course they care about the Jedi.
Right.
But it's like the main character doesn't have the Force. He wants to have the Force, whatever, and he wants to be a Jedi or what. Well, maybe he does. I don't know. We get into later episodes, and I hope not. Anyway, it's so refreshing for a show to not start on like Tatooine or Coruscant, like a new planet that we're actually getting explored, and just a whole new side of the Star Wars galaxy. Even if the things they are doing aren't, necessarily cool or interesting on that planet, it's still interesting to see. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, exactly what I was trying to say. So you nailed it.
No, you said it, bro.
But you nailed it.
I love you.
I will say this though. Me and Neil, we're the same, dude.
What's up?
I rock with Neil.
Why, bro?
But there's just that one part where watching it the second time around, I laughed a lot more than I did the first. I'll tell you some parts I thought were actually okay. I was on the bike riding the bike in the gym today, and I giggled twice.
Okay.
I was embarrassed. But anyway, the only reason why I say we're the same is there's a part where they're walking out of class after they asked them what they want to do when they get older. And Neil's like, he says he likes that girl in his class. And he's like, you like her? You never talked to her. He's like, I know, but I'm building up to it. I'm like, brother, that was me in elementary, junior high school, college.
Yeah.
Now I was that way. I'd be like, oh dude, like I like her so much. Like you've never even spoken to that woman. I'm like, dude, I like her though.
Dude, it was just easier back then.
And that's like being a kid. Life was just easy.
Yeah.
You just had a crush. That's awesome. Anyway, no, the part I laughed at is jumping when it's Neil. It's Neil, right?
Neil is the elephant guy.
Yeah, Neil and Wim are going back to the spaceship, and the two girls come around. But they're messing with him in the beginning, and they act like they're a droid.
Yes.
And they're like, we need to ask you, who do you like? And Neil blurts out the girl's name, and the other Wim's like, what? But I laughed because he just blurted it out. I was like, that's just a silly, dumb and silly, but it got me.
Dude.
Yeah. Anyways, last thing I was gonna say, if I had one of those bikes, I would never be taking the bus.
The speeder bike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they taking the bus for?
Yeah.
I would literally never step on that bus.
Seriously.
That thing is sick.
It is sick.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find these names. Fern, KB, Neil, Wim.
Fern's mom, undersecretary, is that what her name is?
Something. Hot? You're saying she's hot?
I rock with her.
I rock with it.
Hey, I rock with her.
I rock with it.
Let's see here. I got a couple more things. Any thoughts you have of the first episode that you can remember? You kind of got to where you...
Let's see. So, first episode, they find the starship.
Yeah,
right?
Find the starship.
They're in that gully and everything. Yeah, I mean, really just the world building of these kids in school, and it's kind of gotten even cooler as the episodes have gone on, but just trying to figure out what is going on with their planet, like the great work they keep referring to it as, and the
Put
supervisor.
Your shoulder to the wheel, push along. We all have work.
Oh, dude.
Right.
Spencer and I understand the great work.
Get it.
And you're still a Jesus freak. You're still in the great work, dude.
I rock the great work.
Dude, that is so sick. But I like the idea of that, and there's like some mystery there. I cannot wait to see who the supervisor is.
Of the school.
No, of the that's what they call the person
the
who runs their.
That's a good point. I was in my mind.
I can't wait to see who this principal is. It's going to be huge.
Sure, why not? Yeah, like who? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because we know there's something going on behind.
Something fishy.
But what I really do like, and you've touched on this, is just the potential that these kids, like what makes this show fun is these kids can theoretically go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like they are not bound to their planet because they can't get there. So really it's just an adventure of, let's just see Star Wars.
Yeah.
Let's see what's out. Let's see life. That's fun to me.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not fun to maybe casual fans. Maybe that's not something you want to see. But for me, show me.
Seriously.
Get me into it. When we get to that outpost and you see all the scum of the galaxy there, I loved it. It was like a cantina, but honestly, not I wouldn't say better, but just like dark.
No, that works for me.
I liked it.
We going into episode 2? We diving in?
I think we're good to go.
Dive on in.
Get on in, brother.
Yeah, like that pirate outpost is sick to me, and I love when they're just pulling out their lunch money, and everybody's freaking out. Like I think that's such an interesting little wrinkle. And I went into the show completely blind. I did not know it was like a Treasure Planet, type vibe.
No idea.
So I thought that was great. I think that's awesome.
The planet is at.
Can't say I ever heard of no Atten.
Damn, that was good.
Thanks,
dude.
bro. It wasn't very good. Atten.
But that to me was a huge shock. I was like, oh, that's sick. These guys are from a planet that is like a treasure myth. Like people have like looked for it and can't find it. Like they're from it.
Yeah.
And they're old Republic credit. They're old. Everything's like in that time space. So it's like kind of like you're saying they don't really know anything of the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
We're led to believe at this point. I don't know if you've already seen the rest of the episodes, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, in the later episodes, they're like, what war,
Yes.
So, yeah, really cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like that was something that I would have never thought to put in a show, and it works.
Yeah.
Super sick.
Yeah, I love it.
One thing I do want to say is I really don't, because there is this kind of comparison that we're seeing, because of course the New Republic is where we're at right now. It's running everything. We saw in Mandalorian that when there's problems in the Outer Rim, they're not really keen to go there to help because they have other planets that are under their jurisdiction that they help first, right? Priority. The principal from Mean Girls said that. I don't know the actor's name. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Anyway. And then he's in a bunch of other shows.
Okay.
That's what I know him from. It's the principal of Mean Girls. What was I even saying? I just lost my train of thought. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Anyway, but we know the downfall of this in the sequel trilogy is that they lose control of the Outer Rim, and that's where kind of the rebellion starts again.
Yes.
To take on the New Republic.
Yeah.
New Republic. Right?
Yeah, New Republic.
What are they? Oh, the First Order is what it's called.
First Order, New Republic, and then there's the Resistance that fights against them. Yeah.
You guys, I'm out of my Star Wars.
No, we've been out for a while.
I can't. My brain's
Seriously.
not clicking. What I'm trying to say is, with all that information given, I'm nervous that they're going to try to like pull this into. I don't want this to pull into anything we have. I don't want this to pull into the sequel trilogy of like, they're there where this in the Outer Rim. This is how this happens and how we get to here. I don't want that.
I had not even considered that.
I don't want that at all.
Like they show up in the Mandoverse movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Wow, that would be a huge bummer. I don't know. I don't know.
For me, I'm fine with this just being off because we've talked about just off the grid, doesn't connect, and they just do their thing.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah,
and I maybe that's what they're planning, and hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I can also see as Disney wanting to like, let's connect the dots. Let's throw in a legacy character that everyone loves, so they get hype behind the show, like Yoda at the very end of the Acolyte.
Right,
really wasn't that big of a hype, but you know what I'm saying.
Sick though.
Well, we don't even know if it was Yoda.
Yeah, could have been anybody.
Yaddle might have been the head of the Jedi Order before. We don't know. I'm just kidding.
We don't know.
Anyway, I just really don't want that to happen.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That is my first fear of the show going forward.
Yeah.
Don't give me anything like that.
I mean, I don't know. How many episodes are there going to be? 4 or 8? Excuse me.
I think 8.
Because my initial thought when hearing that is like, how would they even do that? Like, what do these kids have to offer to the Mandalorian? You know,
there's 8. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Like they wouldn't bring anything.
Yeah.
So
maybe they won't.
Hopefully,
we'll see. Hopefully not.
But that episode, I love. I don't know. I just love the whole just seeing the life and then them getting in trouble and put into jail.
To the brink.
I love what's his name?
The Brig. Is it Brig or Brink? Man. Sorry. Go ahead.
Maybe it is Brig.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna look that up.
The robot's name K8. Is that right? Am I wrong?
Dude. You cannot ask me.
Well, this is
frankly that's inappropriate. You cannot ask me. Let me find it. SM-33, the droid.
It is SM-33. Why do I think it was K8? What is it? What is it? K8?
Well, KB is the girl with the visor.
Oh, see, I just took her name and threw a number on it. Made
Yeah.
a choice.
No, that's fine.
I
SM33.
I like SM33.
Yeah.
I rock with him. I think
Yeah.
he's fun.
Can't say I ever heard of no.
Who voices him?
Nick Frost, who is
What does he do?
he is
What is he about?
he's gosh, what is the director's name?
Oh, he wrote.
He wrote the Odyssey.
That's exactly.
No,
what
Nick
it is.
Frost is the guy that's in all the Simon Pegg movies. So like Shaun of the Dead, he's the fatter friend.
Ah, I do know. What you're talking about.
I
I've never
don't know
seen
if
Shaun
you've
of the
seen
Dead, but
that.
I've seen the poster.
Yes,
I know exactly
he's
what you're talking
he's that guy. He's this Irish guy.
about. But who's that author that's last name is Frost?
Jack Frost.
Shit.
Jack Frost. Dude, don't. You're going to make us look stupid. Hey, it's winter break. We're not in school right now.
Robert Frost. So
Robert Frost.
I don't even know what he writes, but that's what I'm thinking.
I think he writes the two roads diverge in a yellow wood.
Ooh, A Boy's Will, north of Boston, New Hampshire.
Gosh, I might off myself. I'm packing right now. I could just shoot myself. Actually, that's not cool to say. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
This isn't bad. I'm making it bad. I don't need to. I don't need to be doing these off deep cuts that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, he wrote The Road Not Taken.
Okay, it just wasn't under his notable works.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it's
it's
not
like his most notable work.
Well,
Google.
Wikipedia.
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to
Wikipedia didn't say
Wikipedia.
that.
Dude, maybe Elon is right. We need to cancel Wikipedia.
Hey, they might be wrong. Did he say that? I don't know.
I think so. There's so much shit on Twitter right now. I don't know.
All right. So sorry about that detour. Probably was awesome to listen to.
Yeah. What are we talking about? Star Wars.
Star Wars. I do like going back when they're in the jail. I don't know if there's anything you want to say before that.
No.
When they're talking to the rat
Yeah.
and they're like trying, okay, you go and get it and you come back, and it just doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I love. Just a logical, like, of course that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But they're just kids and they're just hoping.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just such like a naive thing to do. And I love
Seriously, that made me laugh. It was also a little reminiscent of like Pirates of the Caribbean. It reminded me of that
Yeah,
for some reason
yeah.
when they're trying to get the
The
dog,
dog to
to
get
get
it.
the key. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. But I love those kinds of things. And
Yeah.
I think I feel like it had to have maybe not been inspired by it, but it looks a lot really similar.
Yeah,
to that.
definitely.
So, anyways, we have the Jedi show up
Yeah.
right in this moment.
John and Norwood. Right.
Which I mean, it's probably going to be confirmed. But watching the first episode, his voice sounds exactly like the very first guy we see who goes to open the vault, and there's only one credit.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sure it's probably confirmed by now. I'm leading to believe that
I mean,
that's the same person.
yeah. In episode 4, there's a conversation where it's like pretty much.
Oh, you already watched that far.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. I haven't gone that far.
Oh, you haven't gotten that far?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. There's no indication whether or not that's
I don't know how far you
just episode 4.
Oh,
I just watched it
need to
last night.
step up. Because honestly, I have no excuse. I have time.
I thought you
definitely
were. I
watch
thought you were current. I thought you were on
I am
episode
not
5.
but that makes it more better.
Okay. Well,
Nope.
dude, you're a freaking guru, bro. You got it. You understand it.
I get it. I understand now. Anyway,
Yeah. No. Sorry. Were you going to say anything else about Jordan and Norwood? Is he a real Jedi?
that's
the
what I'm
question.
wondering. Because what's the time period on this thing? Because would he? How old would he have been during the Empire's reign? He would have been alive.
He would. Yeah. This is like a couple of years. I mean, this
Yeah.
is 10 years after, maybe.
So does he have Jedi training?
Yeah. Well,
I know if you know, you can tell me. That's fine.
I don't. He's not a Jedi. I'm
Oh,
almost positive.
he's
Like,
not.
yeah.
But he can wield the Force, or was that just an illusion that we saw?
I think it was just a trick.
Ah.
I don't want to get too far into the other episodes, but like it becomes pretty clear
that he's not a Jedi.
that he's not a Jedi and
I
he's
like
like a
it.
dirtbag.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna be mad and say that's my whole. where I
Oh
was
yeah,
gonna go.
no, okay. So I'm glad I stopped you. Yeah, it doesn't seem that way at all. Maybe
Okay.
maybe it's like a double, crisscross. We'll see. But that's no, and I like the direction it's going with his character.
Okay, that makes me more happy because
Yeah.
I was gonna say can we get these Jedi who didn't die? That was going to be my whole.
Oh no, yeah, because when he first showed up, I was like, "What are we doing?
What are we doing?" But that's
which works. And we complain so much in Star Wars about like the fake outs that don't really work for us. Mm-hmm. That kind of worked for me. I was like, I don't want another freaking Jedi, dude. This sucks.
That's where I've been at.
And then, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That makes me excited to watch the rest.
Sorry to our listeners if you're, if I got ahead of us there. That's my bad.
I mean, at this point, that's on you.
We're 5 weeks behind.
Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else for that episode. Do you have anything?
No, and that's the thing. That episode narratively wasn't huge. It introduced to us that they're from a treasure planet, like a mythological planet. Mm-hmm. Introduced Jod and Nawwood. And like, I mean, it was good narratively, but for me, what really worked was just seeing like this scum of villainy, like this hole of, where everything bad in the galaxy goes on this small outpost. And like, that really worked for me. That's where Star Wars is its strongest. I always think back to like how much George Lucas cared about the cantina shot.
Yeah.
Shots in the cantina in Mos Eisley. Like he wanted everything to look good, and he was so set on that. Like, this is what's going to make this movie. And like that still makes it for me. So when there's an homage to it here, where you're seeing all these different kind of characters, that's when Star Wars is strongest for me. So that's what really worked for me.
I agree. I loved it. Just seeing all that, awesome.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to bring up here. Screen Crush is Ryan Erie. You may know him.
Yep.
He talked about how Star Wars shows on Disney Plus have gone, as more and more have come out, viewership has gone down. Mm-hmm. He's saying, of course, he doesn't have any analytics to see, and you can't really see that. There's no way for us to go and see Disney's numbers.
Yeah.
They don't post them. Rightfully so. Well, not rightfully, but I would understand why they don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be leaking that out either if they were doing bad. But how he's been going off it, which makes sense, is how his videos do. Oh. He's like, when we did the Book of Boba Fett, we had tons of viewership for the show, so we knew we had a lot. And he goes, and then kind of the next shows died off. Andor, not great viewership in the beginning for his videos, but as the cult following kind of people are like, oh, this is sick, those numbers went up.
Nice.
People started watching Andor more, and they went back to his videos to watch it, so those went up. So he's like, kind of, that's how his indicator is. What he brings up is I guess my question for you is, why do you think, as shows have gone on, Star Wars shows on Disney Plus, the viewership, just less people are talking about? I mean, even you and me, we didn't watch this from the beginning. And we have a podcast about it. So why do you think that's a thing?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for it. I think there's a huge oversaturation of media in general. I mean, this is a big thing for movies for me. Like every 3 months in the cinema sphere, we have a little freak out about like the box office is dead. And then something comes along and proves it's not. For example, Moana 2 was the biggest example for us recently, where like that movie just did amazing. And it's like, oh, nobody wanted that. Nobody cared about it. And it's like the biggest movie this year for some reason, because it came out on Thanksgiving and it's a Disney movie. And it's like, oh, people want to go to the movie theater. It's crazy. But part of that is like, yeah, people would rather just watch YouTube videos, or they would rather watch TikTok, or they would rather watch one of the 100 million TV shows or movies on Netflix, Yeah. And so first, I think Disney has a lot to compete with there. Just the oversaturation. Second, their brand is kind of dying. Like everybody knows Marvel isn't doing as well. Pixar isn't doing as well, except for the example I just cited with Moana.
Technically, Moana is Disney, not Pixar.
Oh, that's right.
Fun fact for you.
Man, okay. And everybody knows Star Wars isn't doing as well. Like you hear about a new Star Wars movie and it's like, oh, we're actually going to axe that. So there's a lot less faith in the brand. And finally, like people like us who are faithful viewers of every show have seen Mandalorian was great.
Amazing.
Andor was great. I love Andor. Yeah. Then it's progressively gotten worse. Right. Book of Boba Fett, Acolyte, and maybe not in that order.
Right, but season 3 of Mandalorian.
Yeah, exactly. Great
Just
point.
A drop.
Mm-hmm. Things are just churning out and they're getting worse. And so I think those 3 reasons: the oversaturation, the dying brand, and like experience of seeing it all go downhill.
So do you think that Disney needs to, you're saying, just pull back maybe from putting this much out?
I have no idea what the answer is. I literally have no idea, because several years ago when Marvel started trending down, that's what everybody wanted. They were like, well, it's just an oversaturation of superhero movies. Nobody wants that anymore. And then, like the Batman comes out and people love that.
That's true.
And there have been good Marvel releases. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but people that people have liked. The Superman trailer came out earlier this week.
Yeah.
People were going crazy for that. So it's obviously not like superhero fatigue that everybody's been citing. I have no idea.
That's a really good point.
But yeah, to that point, like if you would have asked me a year or 2 ago, I would say pull back. I think just different stories need to be told. That this is, if you're asking me, if I'm executive at Disney, I'm saying, okay, we're going to ask people who, we're going to develop different branches for different people. We're not going to please everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to make this known as we roll things out. We're going to say, hey, if you're a diehard Star Wars fan, we might be releasing stuff you don't like, and that's okay because it's not for you, Making smaller projects with different creators that require less resources, but like that you're getting more content out that might work for other people. So that there's like those gems in there. I don't know.
Okay.
And hiring like proven writers, I think that's a huge thing. Even if they're not Star Wars fans, I know people love to have Star Wars fans head shows, but it doesn't always work. You look at Andor. Tony Gilroy isn't like the biggest Star Wars guy ever,
Yeah.
Or even Rogue One, like the creators on that, I don't think they're really that great of. I don't know. They're not like the biggest Star Wars people when I think of Star Wars people, and of course Tony Gilroy was also involved in Rogue One. But it's like they're just good writers, and you assign them the stuff, and it works. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think you're gonna have a better turnout if you get someone who's a good writer that maybe just has an affinity for.
Yeah.
The thing. Like, I appreciate Star Wars. I've seen them.
Yeah.
I'm not as deep into it.
Exactly.
But I've seen the movies.
Exactly.
I know the storyline. I know the characters. And I agree. I would take someone who's that and a phenomenal writer over someone who is really deep into it, but not a good writer, because then you're getting these things that you're like, what? What's going on?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. This doesn't flow. I can't keep
Case in point, Dave Filoni.
Maybe.
Like he's a good writer, or he used to be, but now I saw this thing on Reddit one time and it just like resonated with me. But it's like Dave is just playing with his toys, and it bugs me. It's like he's not the best writer. He just likes messing with his Star Wars characters and bringing them back for different stuff. Yeah, and that doesn't work for me anymore. It may work for a lot of people, and I think that's okay. That's totally okay.
We've talked about it before on the podcast. I do feel like Dave Filoni's a better animation director than he is an actual live action, and that's just my opinion. And I don't. But anyway, I agree with what you're saying. I just think you gotta. I think what Disney, if I was Disney or as Kathleen Kennedy, just start doing something different. Like, what hurts? Your viewership's down. People aren't coming to it. But anyway, my whole point to say all this was that, do you think Skeleton Crew can be an anomaly? Do you think it has the potential to have people come back and watch it like Andor? Like, because it's different.
Yeah, I do. Because it's, and this may be blasphemous, but I want to compare it to Andor. Where it's like nobody was asking for this and nobody was anticipating it. Nobody was there for episode 1.
Yeah.
But as word of mouth spreads that it's like, hey, this is actually not bad. People can go in and appreciate it for different reasons, rather than I'm waiting for the next Star Wars thing and I'm pumped about it, and then I'm disappointed by what I find. It's like, I found this more organically, and so I like it more. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. And to me, I feel like this, and that's kind of the point Ryan here is making, that maybe people will come back to this.
Yeah.
And this will start getting hot.
Yeah.
Because no one was asking for it, and it's different.
Yeah.
That makes people want it. Because, I mean, Andor, it's a total different than what we've seen. There's no Jedi. Yeah. There's no Sith. It's just the Empire, which is like why it's so fun to watch. And this same concept. Jedi are this mystical thing, not mystical, but they don't see them. They don't know them. So, yeah, I think it's got potential to have that happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it can spin off and do something else. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited for. Again, I have no answers for that kind of stuff, but if this does well, I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see where this show goes. Just for me, not
Yeah.
for like the future of Star Wars. I'm just excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. I think as far as Disney goes, in my opinion, I think for the future of Star Wars, you gotta just try something different. I mean, like you're saying, get some good writers.
Yeah,
And maybe you can just have a dude in there who's a nerd who can just say, "Oh, continuity,
Exactly. A
that's not going to
consultant.
work because this.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't know that. We'll switch it to this. Okay."
yeah,
Because I think if you had a consultant in there who was just, I mean, Dave Filoni definitely can be.
yeah,
Maybe don't give him as much power in that room. Just let him be there to be like, "Oh, yeah, you can't have that happen because in this episode of Clone Wars, yada yada yada."
right.
Totally dismisses that. So that'd be cool.
I also, that's a great point. And we need that because if people see that there's a continuity error or something, like you saw it with the Acolyte, people were just upset after every episode about something that was said wrong
Like
or whatever.
that you can make a kyber crystal bleed by.
I mean, I'm one of those that was upset. I was like,
Right,
bro,
yeah. I agree. I
yeah.
think that one is a fair one to be upset about.
Yeah.
Which it still was a cool visual.
there
but-
was something with the first or second episode that people were super pissed about. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but
Maybe that it was a woman.
maybe. This is the last thing I'll say, and it's kind of related to that. I was listening to an interview with one of my favorite directors yesterday, Robert Eggers, who directed The Witch, The Northman, The Lighthouse, and Nosferatu, which just came out on
Did not know
Christmas. He's one of my top 5 guys. I love this guy.
Okay.
And he is, one of the things I really like about him is like his world building and his imagination, his dedication to like a certain look, a certain historical accuracy, yada yada. And he was doing an interview with a guy who I liked formerly, don't like anymore because of this interview. F this guy. Just kidding. Podcast called The Big Picture, which is
I've heard.
hosted by a guy named Sean Fennessy, and he's usually great.
Is that the one that did the one you sent me about North Korea and the interview? Was he not in it? I think. It was,
he produced that.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
but that's the same
Company or what?
company. Yeah,
podcast.
The Ringer.
Okay.
Anyway, this Robert Eggers was asked a question about Nosferatu being like a COVID movie because there's a plague involved, or like a feminist horror movie because the main character is a woman and she's like very awesome in it. And he's like, no, I'm not interested in telling either of those stories. Like if people want to pull that out of my story, that's fine. I'm not interested in that. And I was like, dude, I love that.
I like that a lot.
Because you look at George Lucas and what story he was telling with Star Wars, the original Star Wars A New Hope. And it's like there are these eternal themes in this movie, and they're amazing, and everybody can relate to them. I don't know if that's what George was going for. George was going for like the world building and like the spectacle of it.
Wow.
And those things can be drawn out of it. And I think approaching stories from that really works for me, where it's like, I'm just building a good movie and I'm building my vision, and you can pull whatever you want out of that. Whereas I think sometimes nowadays, especially in the woke world, and of course, if you've been listening for a long time, you know how I feel about the word woke. I don't, whatever. But genuinely, I think sometimes shows come off as a little preachy. And it's like, we need to tell this story that's larger than life that can relate to everybody. And sometimes it's like, no, you don't. You can just build the world, build it and they will come, as Joseph said, you know? But
that is so awesome. Because what you just said, that resonated with me. That Reddit post that resonated with you, this is my Reddit post right here.
Yeah.
Because I think that's such a great point, that if you just make a movie, you're not trying to push any narrative, you're just telling a story. People are going to pull what they want in their lives. For example, I don't know if I have a friend, I'll say, I won't put him on blast. Okay. Watched Wicked with him.
Yeah.
Okay. Really awesome, powerful, right? You know, and I'm looking at it through my lens and he's looking at it through his lens. And his lens is that, you know, he is no longer in the church, doesn't want to be in the church, you know. And he talks about the pinnacle moment at the very end where she's leaving.
Yeah.
And she's like, I want to be with you and everything, but I just can't. This
Yeah.
isn't for me. And I got to go do my own thing. To him, that resonated with him with the church and not wanting to be in it. I didn't see that at all. The creators of that, of the musical and everything, that wasn't their story.
Yeah.
They weren't telling that story. They just kind of built this world. And from that point of view, he was able to draw that.
Yeah.
Going on to your point of, if you make something good, that you're building the world and you have all these things happening, people are going to be able to relate.
Mhm.
And I think that's the best way to make a film.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, that's exactly how. And I mean, he proved that that's what he does.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's awesome.
Dude, I love that.
That's super cool.
And I'll reach out to that friend, man. Because I felt that too, dude.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
I actually didn't.
Oh,
But that's a really interesting take.
it's an interesting take that because he told me before the film, he's like, hey, when this part happens, I want you to know. And I was like, oh, that is really cool. I see,
So this was his second time seeing it.
Second time.
Okay.
My first.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Interesting.
That like he pulled this thing from it that I would have never even connected the dot to. And that is what I love about, kind of going back to what you're saying before of like, they make that joke of like when you're in English class in junior high and high school and they're like, what do you think the red drapes represent?
Yeah.
And people are like, maybe it's just red drapes. Like it doesn't have to mean anything.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just putting in like, there's just this color,
Right.
And I think sometimes people overanalyze and sometimes people, in some cases, try to push a narrative when they're making it. And sometimes the author or the director or the creator isn't making that point. But if you pull that, that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I don't know. I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And like what we're saying here isn't anything groundbreaking. Like creators will create things and people will feel what they feel. That's not new. But like I feel like sometimes that has been lost. That's the point I want to come around to. Sometimes that has been lost on big corporations like Disney, where they're like trying to figure something out and they're like, what is the new thing? What can we say? What can we produce? Where it's like, just get back to the basics, just go back to what has been working of telling a story and letting people feel how they want to feel rather than pushing anything on them.
100%. I mean, looking at the other angle, if they just look at what's not working, it's trying to push something, which is good. And I'm not saying it's bad to say this is, I want to push this narrative for this group of people.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, if you do it, I don't know, if you just build and they will come. You said it perfectly.
Yeah. To that point, I want to make clear that I'm not saying Disney is always pushing a narrative for political reasons. Like putting a black woman in your movie isn't pushing a narrative.
Yeah, that's not a political thing. That's just casting.
So I'm talking about like they will push these stories, but also they'll like the equivalent of that for me on another side of the Disney coin is like Filoni pushing this obscure storyline from a Thrawn book that resonates with some people, but you need to know like a million Easter eggs to get with, and it's like, of course that's not working for the masses, So it's like pushing a narrative on like a political narrative, pushing a story narrative, and pushing like this weird hyper fandom narrative on people. I think all of that is drawing away from the experience.
Yes.
Not one of the things,
Because I mean, let's even go back, keeping it in Star Wars. George Lucas talks about how the Vietnam War was a huge influence to the film.
Yeah.
So it's like you can still do that.
Right.
But his focus, I would believe, was building the world.
Yeah.
And the story kind of is in it.
Yeah.
But his whole objective wasn't to tell you the story of the Vietnam War. It was more of a, here's my world, get lost in it, but this theme is throughout.
Right.
And I think that kind of what you're saying, that his focus wasn't solely that, but you can still push narratives, you can still push these political things just a little bit more quietly. What's the word I'm looking for?
Subtly.
That's actually exactly what I'm
But I don't know. I hope I'm making myself clear. I also love stories where the narrative isn't subtle like that, where like it is saying a big thing, but that doesn't always work, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's where it goes back to like, I think Disney needs to fill a lot of different pools rather than one big ocean. You know what I mean? I don't know.
And I'll say this, and I feel comfortable saying this. I think if Disney made a new Star Wars movie, and they just really focused on a good story, world building, and casting really good people, it's gonna do amazing. And you could still have those themes throughout.
Yeah.
I think it's just all about the focus. I don't know. And that's me personally. What do I know? I'm in a basement talking about Star Wars.
We're podcasting. We know.
But no, I do like what was his name? The director?
Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers.
You should go listen to it if you've seen the movie. It's really great. Anyway, once I'll send it to you once you've watched the movie.
Sounds good. Yeah. That's awesome. I think I don't have anything else. So we'll cover 3 and 4 next week.
Okay, beautiful.
If you're listening, welcome back.
Yeah, for
Hopefully
real.
give you some good stuff. I think got anything else?
Just one last thing, bro.
Let's hear it.
Thank you for being a disciple of the Force.